Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is my Forbes colleague, staff writer Zach Everson. Zach, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me back, Brittany.
You and I have a very familiar conversation today, so I want to get right into it. I want to read actually the first graph of your reporting. This is what you wrote. Donald Trump's second term has seen three new ways for allies, favor seekers, foreign firms and governments, and pretty much anyone else to direct money to the president's business empire. And so while these are new names, you and I have talked about now for years, President Trump profiting off of his political career. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about these three ways that you're reporting on. The first way is Trump Media and Technology Group. How can people funnel their money through there and then the president ends up eventually profiting?
So Trump Media launched shortly after he was out of office in 2021, and it is a public company, which means people can buy its stock. Now, Donald Trump owns about 53% of the company. So supply and demand, you're buying the stock, it's going to cost the price to go up, and that's going to increase the value of the company. Then there's also private purchases that you could do directly from the company, in which case the money is just going straight into Trump Media's cash pile. And then the third way would be buying ads. Now, it does not look like many entities are taking advantage of that. They reported just $821,000 in net sales in the last quarter. And you're scrolling through True Social, you're not seeing any big ads. You're not seeing the Dubai Tourism Organization or anything like that. You're seeing, selling MAGA stuff, conspiracy-related products, and True Social advertising its own streaming platform. But those do provide three ways to get just mass amounts of money to the president that were not available during his first term.
And now we're going to talk about the president's foray into cryptocurrency, because in his first term, lest we not forget, he was a bit of a crypto skeptic. I'm going to read part of a post that he posted on Twitter in July of 2019. He said this: "I'm not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air." Then he went on to say this, quote, "We have only one real currency in the USA, and it is stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it will always stay that way. It is called the United States dollar." And this doesn't sound like someone who then just a couple of years later would launch a meme coin, the Trump meme coin. So why the about face when it comes to cryptocurrency? Walk us through that.
The about face, I would imagine has a lot to do with someone informing President Trump that there is a lot of money to be made and not having to sell any sort of real product. You are just putting something on the internet. It has no inherent value. There's it's nothing. I mean, it's just showing support for a meme, and people can just buy this thing and give him money. I mean, I did it. Got my True Social or my official Trump meme coin right here. I wanted to see what it would take to do. I sat on the couch, and then, of course, of setting up an account, linking it to some bank account, within about 15, 20 minutes, I was able to buy meme coin, which would go to companies that he's partnering with there. And, I only bought a couple of dollars worth. It was also an easier way to track it is by actually owning it rather than trying to put it in some sort of tracker. They don't make trackers that are as good as normal stock trackers, best I could tell. But it is a way just to get money to him for next to nothing. And that would, if somebody told me there was a way for me to get money for doing very little work and selling nothing, but it ran contrary to a pre-existing belief, I might do a 180 as well.
And Zach, you held that up for just a moment, but I saw a red line and I saw the trajectory of that line going down. Yeah, and that's a pretty steep decline there. So as a meme coin holder for Trump, are you seeing a return on investment? I mean, what does that look like?
Well, I'm not. I think my my $1.46 original purchase is now down to about $1.42. But no, by and large, people who've purchased it have not done well. The Washington Post reported recently, citing some blockchain analytics firm, that it was like 700,000 plus people lost money on it, while just a very small amount of people made over 8 figures. And it was just, if you're in, it just reeks of being something that insiders had an advantage on. They had no shortage of people that they talked to in this Post article who invested. They wanted to show their support of the company. And honestly, I shouldn't even say invested. They bought the meme coin to show their support of Trump. and then promptly, ended up losing most of what they put in there in the first place.
And I want to talk now about the third way you're reporting people are directing money into Trump's business empire, and that's through World Liberty Financial. Talk to us about that company.
So World Liberty Financial is a decentralized finance platform that originally, when it went out, you could buy tokens, which would allow you kind of a vote in how the organization runs. They would put proposals forward and you could vote on them. It doesn't look like that's really happened, at least publicly. I went to the message forum where they have these sort of proposals, and there hasn't been a post in over a month. But people would buy these tokens, and you can't trade them. They are not non-transferable. So if you have it, you cannot try to sell it as a profit or a loss like you would with a meme coin. The other product that they recently put out was a stable coin. Now, that is a cryptocurrency that is pegged to the dollar. There's supposed to be underlying assets there. And that's the one that really shifted a lot of money there, where a investment fund linked to the government of Abu Dhabi announced that it would do a $2 billion investment in the crypto exchange Binance, but it would use this World Liberty stablecoin to do it. And that is just, stablecoins typically work in the way a bank would work. So this is going to give them a fair amount of assets that they can go ahead and invest and try to profit off the proceeds of that investment for. And you've got an example right there of a foreign government-backed entity doing that. And then news also came out of Pakistan recently that World Liberty was going to assist the Pakistan Crypto Council with its own efforts to innovate and use the blockchain. So it seems like it's there. It's more of a consulting fee that it's taking. It looks like be a new revenue stream for World Liberty, but it is another foreign government paying an entity that is 60% of it is owned by Donald Trump and his family members.
We're seeing a bit, as you and I have talked about, a 180 from President Trump on his stance on crypto. He's definitely seemingly more bullish on the currency. And the ventures we're talking about are social media as well as cryptocurrency. So is there any indication that these ventures are somehow impacting President Trump's policymaking?
Donald Trump has put himself forward as somebody who's very pro-crypto. Believe that happened before that he publicly got involved with some of these crypto ventures. So Trump media has been around for a bit, but he was railing against crypto, I think, as late as 2021. But, certainly is his best interest in terms of picking up supporters. The crypto enthusiasts certainly put a lot of money into getting him elected, and that certainly, benefited him in that way. And now you are seeing that overlap. You're seeing instances where we don't know. Is Donald Trump wanting to build U.S. AI crypto infrastructure because it benefits his own companies, because he thinks it's good for the United States? Both. It's tough to say.
And you, as well as the other members of the Money and Politics team here at Forbes, have done some really great reporting on how President Trump has financially benefited from his time in the White House. But how is he personally profiting from this? I mean, what really are the rules here when it comes to a president benefiting off of a business that he had out of office? Now he's in office. I mean, I'm sure the ethical concerns are abound here.
Right. So, the main issue is that this allows entities a very easy way to get him money. Again, I was able to do it from my couch, buying some of the meme coin that he owns a large stake on and gets a cut of the transaction fees. The White House, when I reached out for comment, said, the president can't have conflicts of interest. That is correct. Now, the main issue, though, is the foreign emoluments clause, which is that part of the Constitution using really antiquated language that says the president's not supposed to accept payments or gifts from foreign entities. Now, there were cases going through the Supreme Court during his first term. Does a foreign government buying something at one of his hotels, paying for a hotel room, booking a ballroom, does that count? Not only did the courts never even rule on that, they never even definitively decided who had standing to sue on that. So we are really back at square one on that. I have not seen any cases on that filed yet this term either. So, if someone's waiting for the foreign emoluments clause to come in and stop this, that does not seem like it's going to happen.
And as you and I have talked about for a couple of years now, Trump media has been around for a little bit, but not around in President Trump's first term. The Trump meme coin also not around in President Trump's first term. So how do these types of business ventures and people being able to direct money into President Trump's empire differ from the first term? Now, do people just have more options?
Yeah, it's absolutely more options. It's more convenient. You don't need to go down to the hotel. One of the big things that I spent looking at covering the DC hotel was there were all sorts of rumors about different companies and different foreign governments booking rooms and just not using them, feeling that's an easy way just to get cash to Trump's business. Mark Zuckerberg was asked if Facebook did that during congressional testimony. You don't need to bother with that anymore. You could just go ahead and do this through crypto, do it through a meme coin. So yeah, it is a lot easier. You're not getting any tangible product. You could always say, if I'm going to the hotel, well, I'm having a glass of wine for my $25. So I am getting something in return. Here you're getting a digital token. So that really stands out. Just the amount of money that he's able to take in this time is just astounding compared to last time. And I look back to that first term and can't believe, wow, I was, monitoring $1,000 hotel room purchases from foreign governments, and those were a big story because those are just a pittance to the amount of money that he's taking in. And the big question is he making policy based on his own best interest or based on the best interest of the country? And there should be no doubt that the president is making decisions in the best interest of the country, but we don't know that here.
And aside from you and your $1.46 meme coin purchase, are there any other notable people pouring their money into these newish Trump ventures?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, you're seeing foreign governments doing it. You're seeing Justin Sun, who is a Chinese-based crypto investor, who the SEC was looking into him and wanted his company, and then I think he was bought and World Liberty Financial, really helping that organization get off the ground. And the SEC has then since gone ahead and paused its investigation into him. Sun is also appears to be a major holder of the Trump meme coin. Trump recently had a contest, or I should say Trump. The companies behind the meme coin had a contest where the top 220 holders of the meme coin would be invited to a private meal, black tie optional, with Trump at his DC area golf course. And then the top, I think it was 5 or 6 holders would get invited on a special tour. It originally said special tour of the White House, but later White House was scrubbed from the website. So here you have, the opportunity to dine with the president if you own enough of his company, or, even what looked to have been a tour of the White House if you bought enough of the stuff. So, it certainly is Trump monetizing the presidency in a way that we just didn't see him as willing to do in his first term.
Yeah, definitely more eye-opening this time around. I know actually that you did reach out to the White House. What specifically did they say when you brought up these potential ethical concerns, these potential conflicts of interest?
Yeah, it's, there's no conflicts of interest, which legal, I believe, is correct. And they also said the American people don't really care, which, to be honest, is somewhat correct. This was all reported on largely in his first term. There was no shortage of reporting out there. Now, it may not have been in your particular bubble or on your particular news channel, but there was plenty of reporting out there. There were newsletters, podcasts, books, TV specials, all sorts of stuff on how Trump is profiting off the presidency. And, the American people were presented with a choice, and they decided to go back to that.
And don't sell our reporting short. We did plenty of videos. We did plenty of reporting on it as well that I am sure the good American people did all watch too. Per usual, Zach, I appreciate your reporting. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.